Hey, what's going on? Yeah, we are back, man. Took a little hiatus. We back. Rick, what's up, fool?
Man, ain't here working.
Man, work.
Shit.
Mr. Gladney.
Who you got on here tonight? Who?
The lady. Huh? How you doing, sir?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good.
Oh, that's Mr.
You
Gladney.
know, one person.
What up,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Gladney?
Mr.
How you been,
going on?
man?
Hey, man, just trying to make it through another day.
Oh man, you making it over there in West Orange? Oh man, that's Mr. Central right there, the man that took over Memphis.
I don't know
The
about
great son of Dr. Ollie Liddell.
Dr. Lewis today. I'm Dr. Ollie Liddell. I'm son.
Yeah, Dr. Lewis Liddell. How y'all fellas doing?
Yeah, man, we straight.
Doing good.
Man, glad to how everything going over there in Ernst from the storm.
Oh, well, the city the city's recovering. We got power restored in most of the city Friday, and so everybody now just kind of coming in and surveying damage.
So y'all took damage over there?
Oh yeah. The city got hit. Not as hard as Rita because it made that little 15-mile turn to the east.
To the right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of meant, but there was still some areas that got hit harder than others. It was just all about where you were located.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Oh, but
Man,
nobody got as bad as Lake Charles though.
Man, I came through that other day going to Houston. I had tears in my eyes, man. I worked with Tamika 3 years with Tamika and Sean at Washington Marion from 12 to 15. Man, that was heartbreaking.
Well, Washington Marion, that's why I got my that's why I started my high school career.
I remember that from Alcorn, straight to Washington Marion.
Yeah.
What year you got there, Gladney?
I was at Washington Marion from 98 to 01.
So you took over after Hook.
That's right.
You took over. It was Hook, then you, then who was after you?
Hammond was after me.
Then Clover and St. Andrew got it. Then old boy named what's his name that came out on them?
Brady Bryan had it for a minute.
Brady Bryan, then Tamika got it.
That's right.
Yeah, man, I know the history. I know the history about over there on I can't think Pine. What's the name of that street?
Pineview.
Yeah, Pineview. I wasn't crazy.
Yeah, Gosport.
Oh yeah, man. How you everything doing up there in old this man put a graduation picture up there. What you want me to play Punk'em Circumstance for you?
Oh man, I didn't realize this was Dr. Liddell's son. I had an opportunity to meet him when he was at Jackson State. I was at Washington Marion at the time. Funny story. We went to Jackson State with Washington Marion. They were recruiting. They were doing auditions for choir, and so I rode up there as one of the chaperones, and I met Dr. Liddell, and he actually knew about Washington Marion at the time. And I asked him because I used to always wonder why Jackson State would always have that one trumpet that would hang over with that high note. I was like, I didn't understand why they did. I never really cared for it. So I finally asked him. I said, man, so he said, well, I did that on purpose. He said, I always wanted them just to hear that note. I said, well, okay, whatever floats your boat. Well, he went in the music library and he gave me 3 songs. He said, man, I heard your band. He said, I think y'all will sound good playing this. He gave me Blowing Fanfare, the I Get So Lonely that they played that year, the dance version, and Thinking About It, that Gerald Levert tune.
Yeah,
He just gave me those 3 tunes, man. He said, man, I like what you're doing down there. I would never would have thought he would have known anything about what we were doing. And he just gave me those 3 tunes, man. He said, man, I think you're a good cat, man. He said, go play these tunes for me. And I sure passed them out when I got back to the band room.
man. I'm gonna tell you something, Mr. Gladney. See that young man, Mr. Liddell, right there? He got a band program that can go anywhere in the country. I had to sit down. Look, I had to sit down. Like me and him had words in like the little band groups. You know, me and him had some me and him were talking some trash about Southern J State. And like I told him, I said, I want to see your product. So I saw him battle Whitehaven. I went and looked at the thing and I made a call to Jackson. I said, man, that boy got a serious program. He need to be more on the road than sitting at home.
Yeah.
They need to come down from Mardi Gras.
Man, see, I'm not. Some of my
they need to come to battle the bands.
Yeah, that too.
He got that type of program.
Wow.
We go out east a lot. We ain't done much in the boot. We got to get out there. We doing stuff in Atlanta. We've been in North Carolina.
See, Atlanta, you can go be a bully. It's in Louisiana and Texas, Mississippi. You gonna get bullied if you ain't right.
Yeah,
that's right.
I think Louisiana for band is like what football is in Texas.
Yeah.
It's just man, that's really your spot. And I just hate I got Washington Marion when I was like really new in the game. I was cocky, I was headstrong, I was arrogant. I talked trash, even though, in my 3 years, when you talk about Battle of the Bands, well, hey, we won everywhere. And out of those 3 years, I only got 3 second places and 21 first. So we backed up the talk, but
you took over a monster program. That's why.
But you know what, man? Most people don't know this, but the program was just big. That's all it was. They really didn't have any kind of harmonic structure.
Hey. You better not say that, Gladney. They gonna be mad. Hey, I'm gonna tell you something though.
It's the truth, man.
Huck had a big program. Like I used to get into it with alumni when I was working there. Man, why the band's so small? Say why your kids sitting over there on the field that played they played a hunt at Oak Park, but sitting on the sideline of the football team.
Yeah.
Well, we was 120. I say with 60 blowing, with a lot of drummers.
Well, they had the numbers as far as because like I said, my first couple of years. Well, my first year, sure, we marched 128. And my second year, we did 96. We did 96 the next 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then I was out. But they really had no, I mean, you would have thought, that they would have had. But, man, you pretty much had a bass line, a one-note chord being played by all the low brass, and a melody. And not even one note. That's what they were. And that's why they were so loud and they were so proud of being loud. But when we introduced them to harmony and some different type of arrangements, man, it just took us to another level. And then now you're running up on the Willow Ridges and the Smileys and and that's when we really started making some noise. That's when people really I tell people I don't try to brag, but Washington Marion was a force, was a name in Louisiana, but we put them on the map. Because we were going to Texas, we were going to Tennessee, we were going anywhere we could go. Wherever I could go to make some noise, and whoever I could get hold to and set up something, we just.
And see, the thing was when you was there, Gladly, you did see. I think what a lot of people didn't understand about the history of Washington Marion, Huck only did places like a Southern Battle of the Band or Opelousas or Cara
Faraday.
Or Faraday or Peabody, because what's the old man that passed away was at Faraday?
Dangerfield.
That was his homeboy from school.
Yeah.
They went to Washington, Marion together. And a lot of people don't know that Yeah, that were two black high schools that they merged to make that one program.
Yeah, Washington and Marion.
Marion, yeah. And so, you know, I really could say, man, when I got there, I was trying to keep the legacy alive. We did great things, you know. I like the things you doing over there at West Orange, man. I wish you can get that 160, 128 size band like you know.
Hey man,
Lots of
it don't take
lots
many
of
to
luck with that, man. West Orange is
Huh?
football. I'm doing good to get the kids I got, and now, man, between COVID and Laura, man, right now I'm really devastated. It's like it's like these 5 years have just set up. We just been set back.
You
Are you
talking about you devastated?
virtual or y'all in person?
We're doing both. The kids have the option to do virtual or in person, but of course, most band kids, their parents are doing virtual, and they're not participating in band. I was expecting 70 plus this year, and I've only had about 27 kids to report.
Well, well, you know, you got to understand too. Some people are still shift. Look at what Tamika in Lake Charles. Tamika's in Houston right now doing virtual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she had to be relocated.
Yeah,
And you know, man, it's such a blessing to a lot of people that don't have to suffer in a magnitude of like that. Every time you start building to your peak year, something
yeah,
happens.
yeah.
You peak and it happened. Like and like I tell a lot of directors all over. Yeah, I'm gonna talk my trash, but I tell them, stop giving these kids your first 2 years, build a program, get the numbers big, then you leave. And when you leave, that's all the kids used to you. The program fall back down. Stay there 5 years and build something and give it to somebody.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I'd already made up my mind. This is gonna be my last one. This is gonna be my last gig. I love the district. I like what they're trying. You know, the investment that they're making in the program. This it for me. I'm not worried about moving. I'm not worried about lateral move. I'm not even worried about getting at the university level anymore. I'm content right here.
I heard they had a second Liddell going to take over a college band soon. I heard through the grapevine. I ain't want to bring it on. I ain't want to talk about it on the show, but that's what I heard. That's what I heard.
I'm doing fine.
And look, I ain't talking about Lewis either. But yeah, man, Ollie, man, I got a chance to see your program, bro, on video. I never I never saw y'all in person. But what you doing over there? You're that what I call a hidden jewel in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
You that hidden jewel. People come down there, see you at a parade. Oh, they must not be good. They not Whitehaven. They not this, and come down there and get their face painted.
Yeah, I had a chance to see your band, man. Central. That's right, Central.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got a chance to see, of course, the clips all over YouTube, Central versus Whitehaven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, and what I had to do with my kids, because West Orange was core. It has been core for years. So I had to kind of immerse them in the culture. So every now and then, we just watch bands on YouTube, and that was one of the battles that we watched. And and so of course kids, they don't know anything. They asked me about Whitehaven. They knew Whitehaven was the name. And I told them, I said, man, y'all talking about Whitehaven. I said, y'all need to pay attention to this band Central. I said, man, they got a nice little thing going on. And so I'm not ashamed to tell you, man. I'm not just saying this because you want to hear, man. I saw several things about your program that I want to emulate. I've been in the game now 26 years, man. I don't mind giving cats credit. When I look at people like you and what Will Brooks is doing at Hunter's Lane,
Yeah,
man,
man.
man, y'all are doing some incredible stuff, man. And I'm not gonna lie, I have patterned a lot of my things after things I've seen from you all's program. The two of you for sure.
Man, look, it's Central started out. It was a four-star band for years, and when I got here, the band was really small. Now Central back in the day, back in the 90s and the 80s, was huge, but they were core. They were huge, mostly black. A lot of folks assume we got some white kids in the band, but that's ancient Central. Actually, it's mostly black kids, but it was all core. They had a good, the guy was teaching them, music, but like when I got here, it was rough, man. You talking about trying to, and I know that's why I said I know what you're talking about, is getting them to exposure to what we're doing. It's like they have no clue whatsoever. And we started out, we had 60 people in the band that first year, one tuba, like 4 trombones, 1,565 million alto saxophones, a bunch of drummers.
Well, at
And
least
now,
you started with that, man. When I first got to West Orange, man, there was 12 kids in the band,
wow.
and 5 of them were 8th graders. And so so the first year, man, we couldn't even practice after school. We couldn't even practice at school because the kids wouldn't come. So we worked on music. We worked on music in class, and we played in the stands. I floated the box out on the field. We played for the drill team and the flags and floated the box off. That's what we did my whole first year. But the only reason they were so concerned about the band was because West Orange Star was going to the state championship in football every year. And so they were embarrassed because you got the state championship football team, you taking 17 band members sitting up in the dome, and so they wanted to build that up, and so that's pretty much my thing. But at least you had 60. I would have loved to have started with 60.
That's a central. And I started when I moved to Memphis. It was in a school called East High School. We had a 2-piece and a biscuit. And that band, I mean, the guy replaced was literally scared of kids. Some white guy, God bless him, but he shouldn't have been in that place. East was serious business. We had all the gangs represented. We had, it was, the guy was so scared of kids, the man took roll and hid under his desk every day, called security for 7 periods a day, because he was just scared. The band kids weren't bad, man, but he just assumed you need black kids, and I've been cultured all my life. I ain't been nowhere, so I assume these black kids, they gonna shoot me or something, that kind of stuff. So it wasn't nothing taught. So them kids basically didn't even have band, man. So I got there, man. I'm talking about, I might have had 20 kids, maybe. And they were about 8 of them were drummers. And then
same thing with West Orange. That's all they pretty much had, a drum line. Had a drum line with a tuba player, 3 trumpets, a clarinet, and a saxophone. That was I had no trombones. I had 2 baritone players. I had 1 tuba, 3 trumpets, a clarinet, and a saxophone. That was my instrumentation.
Man, what I had to do was go around the school. Hey, little boy, you'd be a good trombone player. Come on, them kids ain't played no middle school. You just start them kids day one, put them out there and teach them. That's all it is to it.
I couldn't do that. See, Texas is a different animal. They teach boys here. Football is in West Orange. Football is ingrained in them boys when they 6 and 7 years old. We got little Colts, little Mustangs. We got baby Mustangs. We got stallions. From the age of 7 up, they got football, and it's put in them. And if they don't play football, it's like something wrong with them. So I had, out of that, all those people I gave you, I only had about maybe 5 boys in the band. My band was mostly girls. Even my drum line is because it's just all the boys I had were the misfit type boys. And so so we still fighting that battle even now. I got a whole band on the sideline every Friday night, and they don't even play, and they're content to ride the bench just to be able to say they were on the football team when they could be in the band and actually participate. But it's a mindset here in West Orange, man, that's strong with football.
Yeah. Some of it you can fight, some of you can't. And girls may be the way to go. I know I did it. I just we all did it, man. You got to get them in.
Whatever we got, we gonna use. Whatever we got, we gonna use. I'm just curious, man. Now, when I what's your biggest when you think about, like, when I think about when you all are going up against bands like Whitehaven, what's the mindset you put in your kids? Especially coming out of a core style, getting your kids in a competitive mindset. What do you use to drive them?
Well, I try to, like, the word is metacognition. Use what am I thinking when I'm playing? When I was in college, what was in my brain? I'm thinking? Now, when I was in college, I'm trying to I'm literally envisioning the person across the field and trying to knock their face off. That's what I'm feeling. But it's a zone, it's a zone thing. It's not just loud, but it's also in tune, right notes, articulation, everything. You in that zone, and then you knock it. It's that competitive. I played football in high school, and maybe I don't know what it is, but I have that competitive drive. So that's what we try to instill in the kids.
Oh
but
yeah.
We teach them, it's all the same thing. We all meet, the good thing about Memphis directors, for the most part, we all get along. And I know it's not like that everywhere. For the most part, we all are friends. We all collaborate on different things. There's some very talented band directors that you probably won't even heard about in Memphis that's doing a real good job. But when it's all said and done, now one thing that we would always do is we'd all come together after the showdown. We all come together and play a piece together. We used to do that a lot, and just to get that camaraderie and things going on. But when it's time to go, man, it's time to go. And but once you get them, once the hardest part when you transfer from a core to a show band is that first year, because no one has a clue what's going on. After the first year, you at least got your upperclassmen that got a clue. They ain't quite got it, but they at least have a clue. So it takes time.
I agree. I agree with you. I remember the first year, like I said, we didn't do much, and of course, we're in Texas. We're not meeting any other show bands, so we're looking at Silsby and Hardin Jefferson, and so we're looking strictly at core bands. So all they had was videotapes. Well, I decided at the end of my second year. My third year. We decided at the end of my third year that we were gonna make Port Arthur's Underground Showdown our first appearance. And so they made up their mind. They were ready to do it. They said, "We ready, Mr. Gladney. We got to get our feet wet." So I said, "Okay."
I remember that.
I dogged them at practice, man. We worked like dogs when we came back from that Christmas break. I mean, we practiced in the rain. Them jokers was there. They were focused, but I had enough sense to know that I had to try to keep us within what we were able to do. And I never forget, we were sitting in the gym, getting ready before everybody marched in. Of course, all the bands started going at it. And so my kids were starstruck. They were like deer in headlights. They were just looking around at all this stuff going on. And I could look at them and their faces just look like we are out of place. We have no business here. We can't. And so I said, y'all just be cool. We don't have to play a note. Just chill out. And they were, and so when it was time to go on the field, I said, man, hey man, just remember what you practiced on. Lay it all out there. You ain't got no sucking head to worry about playing for. Give everything you got, just one good time, and then we can go sit down and just rest for the rest of the night. And man, we got that. We were fortunate enough to get first place, man. And once they tasted it, then it was like that was the switch. That was what they needed. But they also had to get some reality check. When we went to Louisiana for the first time, woo, we went to watch the Battle Bands. We got
what year that was?
That had to be 2018.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah, we was there.
Yeah, we came there. I wasn't on staff then. I wasn't at the hymn at the time. But man, listen, Liddell, they done had some great battle bands in that little triangle there, that little Gulf Coast between Washington, Marion, Port Arthur, and Beaumont. Oh man, you'll be surprised what goes on in that triangle that don't get talked about.
I would not be surprised. I know what time.
Hey, look,
hold it up.
What high school you went to, Liddell?
Interesting enough, I went to 3 different high schools. I went to 3 different high schools and 4 different middle schools. I have a very, very, very upbringing as far as band, and I think that's beautiful because I've seen all sides of it. I marched when I was in we were in North Carolina. I was in BNL. Now, first it was Southeast Guilford. It was an all-white school, about 35 black people in the whole school. chorus style band is all get out. Then in 10th grade, I went to B&L Smith in Greensboro, both of them were Greensboro, North Carolina. Smith had about, a good 40-piece band. We were horrible, absolutely horrible. Just the whole mindset of the band wasn't there, and they were trying to do something, but wasn't it. And then we moved back to Jackson. My dad got a job at Jackson State. My junior year in high school was Callaway.
Oh.
And, now
What year was that?
92 is when we moved back, fall of 92. And I graduated in spring of obviously 94.
Man, Callaway had a monster 94, 95. They were about 180 people.
Oh, yeah. Now, Callaway, we marched, my senior year, we marched 18 trombones, had about 30 trumpets, 10 tubas, about 8 B-tones. Weird thing, we had 2 mellophones. That was a weird thing about that band.
You got to think about it. Back in the mid-90s, ain't too many people have mellophones.
Yeah.
Unless you was New Orleans or the schools around the college, like Baton Rouge, we ain't had that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Reed, baby, they took us had about 15 mellows and 5 trumpets. Reed back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day.
Man, look, I never forget Liddell. We went to Bogalusa for Mardi Gras. We got off the bus. We saw Bogalusa High because we had just beat them in football that year. And they band, we blew at their band. Man, we lined up. I told our band director, there go a school down there. Warm up. Told the drum major, man, warm us up. We ain't scared of nobody. Man, we didn't know they had about 4 charter buses behind them. We blew, hey, look, all I remember, they was orange and blue, the Chargers. Man, we blew at them people, y'all. I tell y'all no word to lie. We cranked up What About Your Friends? And we had just come back from, that year was the year you will know. You will know.
Yeah.
You will know. Bodo. We played that. Man, them band director, look down there. Give me a second. We're warming up. Man, them people got parade formation. I look, I said, that we got a 5-man front. They got 5 right here, and they still got people on the other side of this float. I told our band director, let me do this here for a favor. Just let me be messy right quick. I picked a fight with Bogalusa High, like we was gonna fight them so they could move us up in the parade and get out that trophy. Man, them people went back there and told everybody a new asshole back there. And the crazy part about it, Bogalusa parade be band, small float band. And guess who was behind us?
Who?
Callaway. We turned the corner and all our plumes was doing this shit. It was cranking behind us the whole while. After that, I told my band director, we'll never blow at another big band. We'll let the band get fully there. So that's how I'm familiar with Callaway. But tell us what college you went to, man. You went to Valley, didn't you?
No, sir. I'm a proud alumnus of Jackson State University. I marched and came to band in 1994. With the Crabs in 1994. We won't say that word nowadays, but that's what we were. I got my degree from Jackson State, and then I went on, got a master's and a PhD from Ole Miss here recently.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Congratulations,
man. You came to Jackson State in 94.
Yes, sir.
That was my final year at Alcorn. I graduated in spring 95. That was my last rip.
Hey, so Gladney, using the band that played You're Not Alone.
No, that was the year after me.
Oh, that was the year after?
Yeah.
That was after me.
So in 94, fall 94, who took it? Sonic Boom or Sounds of Dynamite?
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't even remember what the battle was like, but I can tell you one thing. I can tell you one thing. All my, by then I'm just ready to graduate. I done 6 riffs. I'm ready to take it to the house. But I will say this about Jackson State. Out of all my years at Alcorn and all the times I sat across from them in the band at Alcorn, one thing that the Boom was always gonna do, they was always gonna play this little song in the 4th quarter that was gonna fire up their team, and they was gonna always kill you with some ballad that you had not heard all season. And they became on, and I know one of the ones that they put on us that particular year, they played "Piece of My Love" from Guy. and I'll be the first to tell you, we were all standing there kind of like humming. Because when you're in the band, you're not gonna let them know. But real people, you talk trash to your rival and stuff. Oh, them niggas they suck. But when it sounds good, y'all over there looking at each other like, man, they blowing that one. So that was one thing Jackson State was good for. They used to always, play the hell out of a ballad, and they always had that one number on the field that they played, that always stuck with you, and
Swoop.
and and I can, and now I can remember all these different facets of SWAC band, man. And that's one of the things I dislike about the SWAC now, that none of the bands have a signature sound now. Everybody's trying to kind of sound the same. It was a time I can remember you could close your eyes and you hear a band
And tell
playing,
everybody.
and you knew who that was. But now I close my eyes now, depending on what the arrangement is, I can't tell who's playing, because it's like everybody now is just in your face, just straight line. Nobody has color. Nobody's trying to be different. And you when you look at them now, you can say, okay, well, yeah, that's something that J State, but that's some PV will play. That's some, so but for the most part, man, it's just hard to distinguish these bands now, and that's kind of disappointing to me, because that was the one thing I liked about the SWAC. Growing up in it, hearing the different bands, but it's just not like that anymore. Not to me. That's just my opinion, though.
And we have Mr. Clover Lacy who just joined. What's going on, man?
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. How you doing?
All right. How you doing?
Doing all right.
All right.
What's up, Clovis? Give us a little background on your music education, man. What school you at? What school you went to?
I'm a graduate of Mississippi Valley State University.
The Delta.
I've recently gotten my master's in arts and teaching degree from Mississippi Valley back in 2019. I'm a member of
Congratulations, man.
I'm a member of Kappa Psi Delta Pi chapter on that campus.
Man.
I'm also a member of the Delta Pi Alumni Association, which helps our undergraduate chapters continue their service in the organization. If y'all bear with me, I'm trying to switch from my phone to my PC here.
Oh,
Man,
no problem, man. Take your time, man.
You marched in the band you marched in the band with somebody I know.
Who was that?
Danielle Henderson.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, she marched after I left there. I was the student conductor and chief music arranger for Valley Band from 2002 to about 2004. I'm currently a public school educator here in Mississippi. I'm currently teaching music education, and we're trying to rebuild our instrumental music program in the West Bolivar Consolidated School District in Bolivar County.
What is it?
It's located, it's the second largest county in the state of Mississippi. It's located in the where the major town is the major city is Cleveland, Mississippi.
And I know you're talking about Clarksdale.
Okay.
Yeah, near Clarksdale. It's a few miles.
You're talking about Highway 6.
Highway 61.
Oh,
The infamous Blues Highway.
okay. So you got Alcorn, Jack State, and Valley in the house.
Okay. Man, question for you fellas, man. When did you all fall in love with band, man? Like what was that first moment that you all said, yeah, this one I'm gonna do when I get to high school and college?
I'm gonna let the veterans take it first.
Well, it's for me. It's been my whole life. So, my dad was high school band director at Provine High School back in the day, and that's so I grew up around band. It was a great thing that you. It was a special memory. You going to practice with dad, going to games, and so I had two loves growing up. One was Walter Jerry Payton, and the other was band. So it was one or the other. And when he told me, well, people ask me how I picked trombone from an instrument. Well, my dad came home with a trombone, dropped on the side of the bed, said, "That what you playing, boy?" I said, "All right," because they didn't matter to me. I just wanted to be. Actually, if I had my choice, it would have been tuba. I thought it was a cool instrument, big. I would play tuba when I was a little boy. But I knew all the instruments was a little boy, Through I played football from 4th grade to 12th grade, but it's still in the band. And I was still all region bands, all state things like that. And then when I graduated from high school, I had I had several band scholarships, academic scholarships, different things. And I had one football scholarship. My football coach kind of turned me against ever playing football again. My younger brother played. This is a different story. But I knew I was going to play an instrument the rest of my life. And so when you asked when I first, it was all my life, man. I've loved band my whole life. Um, I loved my dad's a Jacksonian, so I like Jackson State. Jackson State was my first love when I was how I became a Chicago Bears fan. Like my dad said, "Hey, that dude number 34, he played Jackson State." Oh, okay, so I was like, that's what I became a Bears fan. So band, this is what I've been around forever. So when I graduated high school, I asked, I knew I was going to be in the band, so it was Jackson State was the only choice. I had scholarships to TSU and Southern and FAM and University of Southern California, Ole Miss, Michigan State. I had scholarships all over the place, but it was Jackson State. I ain't had no other. And then also it didn't help that I wasn't paying nothing because I had full band, academic. I was good to go, so that made my choice even better. And
Right.
I figured out.
And then when I graduated high school, and I love chemistry. I actually have an undergraduate degree in chemistry. My bachelor's is actually in chemistry. And what happened was I asked my dad, I said, "Hey man, I'm thinking about majoring in music." He was like, "You want to make some money?" I was like, "Yeah." Well, don't major in music. But
wow.
it was actually in about like my junior year or so. I just realized I didn't want to do this the rest of my life. I didn't want to sit there boil no water. This is calling. Now, I had left school for a little while, and I played professionally for over 10 years on the road with different blues artists. And went back, graduated, got my degree, but it was like it was actually ironically Memphis. Me moving to Memphis was an accident. This was not the plan. I was going to be in Texas, but it's a different old story. But it was a friend of mine. He let me go. I was arranging for Jackson State. I arranged a lot of pieces for Jackson State back in the day. Last piece I think I wrote that they played was probably No Crime, 06. When I wrote it, 06 or 07, I don't remember. They still play it today. And I was arranging some music for some high schools. And there was a friend of mine who was a drummer in our band. And he asked me to write a song for he was working with the drum line at the school in Memphis, Kirby. Wrote some music for him, and he told me, man, and the band director was just so excited. He said, "Man, can you come up here and work with a band?" I said, "Sure." And that's when I worked with the band. That's what let me know this is my real calling. I need to be teaching kids music. And so I went back to school. I got my certification because I still was a music minor. I had applied trombone courses, theory, and all that good stuff. Went back to school, took the courses I need, passed the practice 1, 2, 3, and went on and started teaching in Mississippi. And that's how I got my start. I still play professionally, but at one point in time, I thought that was going to be it. I was just going to play trombone or travel the country. But it's not so much a young man game; it's a crazy man game because. You got responsibilities. You got life insurance and medical insurance and mortgage. And the musician life, it is fabulous. I mean, I still play, but it can't be my full-time thing. And I wouldn't do any other job. I wouldn't do anything else. If I hit the lottery tomorrow night, I'd still be teaching Monday.
Yeah,
because I love it.
Yeah, well, I grew up I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. So, so when I was coming up, as a student, I sang in choir. I didn't do band at all. Uh, I was in choir up until 6th grade, and I had a had a tragedy in my life. I was hit. I was actually hit by a bus when I
Mm.
was young,
Whoa.
running from a dog. I ran out the street, and so I went through this depression stage. And so I remember the band director at my school. He was like, be a man, come march in the band. He just used to talk like that. And so my seventh grade year, I got in band on trumpet, and but the high school that I fed to, Parker High School, Parker had a tradition, man, and they were awesome. And I never thought I was on the level to be in high school band there. Uh, but my band rate, he's like, "Yeah, man, you got everything you need. We even get you everything you need." And so I went. I went there as a crab. I wasn't scared to use that word because that's all I knew. I was a crab, and
That's a dirty word now, man.
yeah, I was a ninth grade crab, and I can remember we were playing the Great Gate of Kiev
Yeah.
with all these accidentals, man. And so the band director was going around trying to get. He said, "Who can play the first 8 measures?" And I wasn't never scared to play, so I raised my hand and I played it. And everybody in the band room just looked at me because I knew all those accidentals and all those strange fingering combinations and stuff. And so I ended up getting first chair as a freshman uh,
Oh.
in the trumpet section. In my high school, we had 29 trumpets, and I was first chair. And uh, my band directors they started kind of pouring into me. They started trying to give me this thing, man, you really going to be special, man. Just got to stick with it. And there was some upperclassmen, too. I never forget the trumpet section, Kevin Birch, who went on to FAMU to be a drum major. But he was one of the guys. He kind of like embraced me and was always just giving me stuff, man. He's like, man, it's gonna be your section, dog, in a couple of years, man. And, but and I just had people who kind of pushed me because I'm the kind. If you tell me I can't do something, I won't prove you wrong. And so that's. But I still had no clue about being a band director. But I knew I wanted to do band. So, but the only bands I had seen was Alabama State and Alabama A&M for the Magic City Classic because they played it in Birmingham every year. And I liked A&M band. So at that initially I was going to Alabama A&M for college, and I was going to major in computer science because that's when computers was really becoming a big thing. And so, but other schools started visiting. My high school, Alcorn, Kane, Jackson State, Southern, FAMU, Grambling, and I auditioned for everybody. and I ended up getting scholarships pretty much to everybody. But Alcorn and Jackson State were the only two that were paying out of state fees. They were the only two that were giving you scholarships for out of state fees. So I knew it was going to be one of those two schools that I went to. But I really didn't know anything about I had never really even heard of Alcorn State. I barely knew about Jackson State. But of course, BET was showing black college football back then. And so, and I had a cousin who was at Alcorn, but of course he was going to be biased and say, "Yeah, man, come to Alcorn." I said, "Well, I'm going to watch the Alcorn Jack State game, and whoever I feel like do the best show, that's where I'm going to go." I ain't had no other reference. And so I thought Alcorn did a good show. I thought that show was a lot better at that particular year. And so that's how I ended up at Alcorn. And I knew that the scholarship said that we had to major in music, but I didn't think it was music education. I'm like you, Dr. Liddell. I'm thinking I'm just gonna have a degree in music. I'm gonna know some music. I'll probably be playing, but I'll probably have another gig doing my real job, and music will be my side thing. But I just have a degree. And but Samuel Griffin, the band director at Alcorn, man, he made me fall in love with being a band director because I just used to watch him. Uh, he was such a I can't say it no other way. He was such a nigga because he was so rough. He just was heartless. He just laid it on you. He shamed you. He clowned you. He did, but you never forgot the stuff that he taught. But the dude was wise and he had so much knowledge. And I can remember we were playing Funky War Dance, the standard that we play in 7/4 time that the band became known for every year. Bum, 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 ba-dum, dum, and he came in and directed one day. And I watched him direct, man, and he was so smooth the way he directed. And before I knew it, I had taken my horn down and I was just watching him direct. and instantly I became just caught up in it, and so I wanted to be him, and so he saw that and he started, and he said, "You're gonna be a band director." He said, "You're gonna be one of the best ones we turn out." And he just fed into me. He just poured into me, and the band will go on trips, and he'll come in there, get your fat ass off this bus. And I'm like, for what? You need to go see how to do stuff. So we had to go check in hotels, or we had to make arrangements for stuff. He made me sit in there and watch it. And he made me do everything, and so that's what gave me my drive. And like I said, sitting across from some of these, like I said, these great people, like those bands that I heard, man, I just was amazed at how they did what they did, and I'm like, man, I want to do that, and I never looked back. And so uh, when I graduated finally, because I went through some changes. I majored in student life my first few years, and by the end of that fifth year, I had partied so hard I lost my scholarship, and I ended up going back home for a year, and then I got my mind right, and I came back and I finished in two, and so I got my first gig. My first gig was actually in Shreveport, Louisiana, at Lanier Middle School that fed into Green Oaks High School. And so I was I was Ronnie Miner's assistant. Ronnie Miner was a former drum major at Gladney. I fed his program for 2.5 years. And I was at Gladney's homecoming, and Washington Marion showed up. And I saw them. And I was like, man, that band's pretty nice. I was like, man, I want to meet the band director. So I went over there to meet the band director, and they told me he had died. I said, he dead? I said, well, who brought y'all here? And so they was like, well, his daughter pretty much running the band, and the parents and the principal came with us. And that just blew my mind. I was like, what? And so the guy that I met that was asking all the questions, he said, man, well, you ought to apply for the job. And I'm like, man, you don't even know me. Like, talking about apply for the job. But it stuck with me. And so that next week, man, I called down to Lake Charles and inquired about the job, and I got an interview. And I ended up getting hired that January of '98. And that was the beginning of my journey. And and man, them battle of the bands, I had never experienced anything like that before. Louisiana was just hot then. The mid '90s, that was like, to me, the golden age of high school band. And man, so, and I've never looked back. And I can tell you, in my 20 plus years of teaching, I still can tell you right now, the best years I had were my three at Washington Mary. But
Yeah.
that's pretty, man. I'd like to say, I just was surrounded by people, man, that just inspired me.
Okay, Mr. Lacy, man, it's on you, man. When did you fall in love with band? I think I gotta turn this mic on.
Well, I fell in love with band when I heard the first downbeat. Chat chat boom.
All right,
Man.
can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, you good.
Actually, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first fell in love with band, I was a little kid, and every year in Greenwood, Mississippi, that's where I grew up at.
Wow.
I grew up watching the Delta Band Festival every year when I was a kid, and we had morning parade, we had an evening parade, and we saw all different types of bands. We saw the Jackson States, we saw the Alcorns, we saw the local high school bands from all over the Southeast. We saw everybody. What really made me fall in love with band when I actually saw Mississippi Valley, I'm gonna be honest with you. Watching that marching style that they used, the mark time 2, the mark time 3, they was marching in a different way I've never seen before. My first band director was a female, actually, in the 6th grade. Her name was Gail Griggs. She's a Jacksonian, played flute. And I fell in love with band just by watching curtain parades. Like Brother Gladney said, he was mentioning something about black college football, which was a big deal because I get to see bands like Virginia Union.
Yeah.
I ain't never heard of Virginia Union.
Yeah.
But we always saw Jackson State, we always saw Alcorn, we always saw Southern. But when we saw bands like North Carolina A&T, I got to see the whole spectrum of black college band. I played the baritone in beginning band at 6th grade. I started enjoying it. And then I started to play the tuba around my second semester of my 7th grade year. And then I just took off from there. I started doing solo and ensemble with brass ensemble. I'm a superior rated soloist. Back in the day, you know, I played a tuba solo called Voice of the Viking. Never heard of such thing, you know, by David Benton. I played that growing up. My first college experience was with Mississippi Valley. Leonard Trammell, who passed away back in 2019, the same year that I was graduating. I was in the middle of a comp exam, and when I got through my comp exam, we got a phone call saying, "You heard Mr. Trammell passed away?" I was shocked, and you know, but he'd been with me from 1998 all the way up to 2004, and you know, he has been very instrumental in my studies of being a band director. For those who aren't aware, we just received some more news today that his former band director, Mr. Russell Boone, passed away.
Boone, yeah.
He passed away at the age of 99. He passed away, matter of fact, last night in his sleep.
Wow.
You know, a church member of mine said, boy, he done lived his life plus somebody's life plus somebody else's life, you know. So I had the pleasure of getting to know Ollie Liddell through when he worked in Memphis for the time I knew him. I didn't know he was a gigging musician until I saw him play with Marvin Cease. As a matter of fact. Matter of fact, what made me figure out it was Ollie Liddell when he wrote a whole show, a whole Luther Vandross show one year. Matter of fact, I was the band director in Memphis at the time. He wrote a whole Luther Vandross show when they played Hampton for the Circuit City. I was like, whoa. I said, this Ollie Liddell. So I didn't meet Ollie until, I forgot what year.
08.
Yeah, 08.
08.
Yeah, you was at Eastern High School. Yeah, and you know, back in the day, Trammell taught us some things about, you know, how to score our music, because the program I came from, it had a rich history. You know, we did the Tournament of Roses, first HBCU to do it in 65 and in 68. Matter of fact, the first HBCU to do it 2 times in the span of 5 years. They have also done, you know, lead bands for state band festivals and all that stuff. So I came from a rich history. You know, O'Neal Sanford, who was the band director at Jack State, was the band director at Mississippi Valley for a short time. I didn't even know that Paul I. Adams wrote for Mississippi Valley for a time. You know, you know, I learned that Jackson State, you know, had a rich history because those names that I mentioned were also mentioned. You know, our band directors from Mississippi Valley were also mentioned. In matter of fact, Dr. Griffin at Alcorn and Mr. Trammell were good friends. You know, I get to watch the camaraderie between those two. You know, they can have a conversation like it's nothing, but when they got in front of each other with a band, it was on. But at the end of the game, the fellowship was just beautiful. You know, same thing with Jackson State. We enjoyed that type of camaraderie around band. So as I was going through college, I learned how to arrange. My professor was Dr. Gary Powell Nash, world-renowned composer. He was also one of our arrangers at the time. So I learned to do my arranging skills from him. And I also learned how to do a little jazz band from Kenneth Milton, who's my band director for a stint. I did trombone and jazz band. I did wind symphony, baritone. And then one day, all the percussion players didn't show up for symphonic band. So I went to Mr. Trammell, was like, he said, Mr. Trammell, what are we gonna do? He was like, well, they said, can you handle the percussion? I said, sure. I took my buddy's whole stick bag and I went up there and I played timpani one year. My senior year, I played timpani. So basically, Trammell was trying to say, well, Lacy got to learn how to do this sooner or later. He got to learn how to teach percussion. You got to learn how to teach woodwind. You got to learn how to teach it all. You even have to learn how to range. Like what Brother Gladney was talking about, he was saying something about the administrative side of being a band director. You know, you had to do the budgeting, you had to do the travel, you got to do the lodging. These are the unwritten rules that we weren't taught, but you had to know it as soon as you hit the ground. My first teaching job was in Holmes County, Mississippi. I taught at J. McLean High School, better known as Home Central, aka the Madhouse Band. That's Stephon Mathis now. And I started with 10 pieces that first year. And I know with my certification being up, because in Mississippi you only had like a 1-year license back in the day. So when I left, this was before Hurricane Katrina. Before I left, Mathis came in. Basically, I just lit a fire, and all Mathis did was throw wood on it, And then when the Katrina hit, that's when I wound up going up to Memphis. I taught there for a year. And then I came back to Mississippi, and I taught at Humphreys County High School in Belzona, Mississippi, where they're known for their catfish, And then I left there, and I did, and you probably wonder like, how is he moving around so much? Well, during that time, the certification was a big issue with a lot of young teachers. So, I had to basically work a year, keep working on my certification, pass all my practices. Wound up leaving Humphrey County, took a job in Coahoma County in Clarksdale. We were building a program there slowly, but and then I took an opportunity that made me learn how to be a band director. I took a position in Tate County, Mississippi, where we have a thing called the I-55 Association, and those band directors there are mostly from DeSoto County, Lafayette County, as quote unquote the good old boys. The good old boys. So, I'm in there with these guys like the Grenadiers, the South Panola High School bands. These are powerhouse marching programs.
Yeah.
And the first time in my career, I took a band to marching festival where I got talked about. I ain't gonna lie about it. Ollie, you know about it. I took it to solo ensemble, which I had great success. I learned how to prep students for how to play individually and in groups, like brass and woodwind and solos. Had a lot of kids rate superior at Humphreys County doing solo ensemble. And that's an area of music education that we need to bring back, because for those small schools that don't have the means to build a big program, you can always build individual musicians.
Yeah.
So like I said, in Tate County, I had a good run there basically. I did marching band festival. I did concert band festival, which I really got talked about because, for me to come from a program such as Greenwood High School and the knowledge that I knew, I should have known better. And then I even took a band to championships, state marching band championships. We came in top 5, but it was only 5 in that classification. But, we were there. That was important. After leaving Tate County that year, I wound up spending 3 years at John F. Kennedy High School in Mount Bayou, Mississippi. And that community had a very rich history of bands. They even had their own tournament of bands back in the day in the 70s and 80s, because predominant Black bands, when they would go to state festival, weren't getting a fair shake in terms of being judged properly. So the Black band directors got together and said, well, hey, let's create our own. They had a tournament of bands where they did concert band in the morning, jazz band at lunch. They had a drumline competition. They had a majorette competition, and they had the full flow show. You had an all-day affair. And you talking about it's kind of like you buy an all-day pass to an event. That's what they did back then.
Huh.
But as time went on, things, when you didn't have the resources, you didn't have the staffing, all that had to go away. So bands in the Delta had to fend for themselves. They had to do individual battle of the bands. Now they had to do individual majorette competitions, individual drumline competitions, and things of this nature. After my 3 years at John F. Kennedy, I left and took a job in my hometown at Amanda Elsie High School, and I did pretty good there. I took the band to marching festival, got 3s, percussion got a 2. Whoop-de-doo, I'm at least I'm learning how to structure a program for that ranking, for that level. After that, I spent 3 years at Leland. Then I made the conscious decision to go back to grad school. And I went back to grad school, got my Master of Arts in Teaching degree in 2016. I finished in 2019. But during that time, then I decided to take a break from band in general and just teach the little babies how the foundations of music, teaching them how to click rhythms, teach them how to play on the bells and things of that nature. So I'm currently serving as the music director for the West Bolivar Consolidated School District in the town of Shaw, Mississippi. And we're restructuring our school and everything. So I fell in love with band ever since I was a kid, watching those criminal parades, watching black college football. Even though I didn't see, and then don't get me wrong, when it came to New Year's Day, always watching the Rose Bowl parade, always watching the Macy's parade during Thanksgiving and things of that nature. Also, what was it? It was something else. Oh yeah, it was something else. Drum and Bugle Corps is what really got me into wanting to do marching band. But back then they had the 2 valve bugles back then, back in the 80s. They didn't switch over to the B flat horns until like the 2000s. So when you hear the Blue Devils, Drum and Bugle Corps, when you hear the Madison Scouts, when you hear all these different drum corps and they experiment with these different chord structures, that what really elevated me. I think by 10th grade, I decided, I said, I'm not an athlete. I did a little track and field in high school. I did shot put, discus, whatever. But then by 10th grade, I said, I know what I really want to do. I said, I want to be a band director. And folks were looking at me crazy. Like, man, you want to be a band director? And they was just shocked out their mind. I received scholarships like Ollie did. I received scholarships from Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Dub State. But, at the time I had a strong mother. She wanted me nearby. So Mississippi Valley was it, and then on top of that, with the way we are in Mississippi, especially amongst Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and a little bit better, in some cases they'll look at you like, what's a black kid doing here playing tuba at Mississippi State or Ole Miss? But at the same time, I can hold my own against any one of them guys. Even Ollie can attest to that. It's true.
Let me tell you a little secret about some of these programs. They kind of look down upon black folks and what we're doing in our culture. And it's bull. I don't know who your listeners are, but that's some other words I can use for that too. But I those players that I can tell you right now, those players at least Mississippi State and Ole Miss, they're in many cases they're not even as good as the players, our middle of the road players. Jackson. I can't speak to LSU and the rest of it, but I just tell you from the state of Mississippi, they ain't talking about nothing. And but
I agree. And many of them
Excuse me, gentlemen. I'm gonna join y'all by phone. I gotta make a drive, but I'm gonna join y'all by phone.
All right.
Many of them are emulating now our programs.
Yeah.
And they're embracing it too. They're embracing it hard. They biting, is what they say back in the 80s. They biting off us.
Yeah, because there's a Jackson State cat at LSU right now.
Mm-hmm.
And and so when you and it's amazing to me that it's typical of what society has done, has always taken something that we create and turn it into something that works for them. I've never seen a core band. When I was in high school, in Birmingham we had 14 high schools, and I only saw one band that was core, Huffman High School, and of course that was the white band. That's what we called them. That was the white band that we played every year. But all the other schools were show like us. So I had no interest in anything other than show because that was all I was exposed to. But when I was at Alcorn, Valley was not your typical HBCU. Valley was the first HBCU that I'd ever seen that was doing core.
Valley is the first core style band in the state of Mississippi.
They used to march like close to 200 back then, and their sound was just amazing.
Newsflash: Valley in the 70s was not to be messed with.
If I may, real quick, to share with y'all what y'all just mentioned about
You talking about the 70s? They
Um,
wasn't in the mix with in the 80s either.
I never saw him in the 80s, so I couldn't speak to that. But I know I
Yup.
know
I got the Alcorn in '86. I got the Alcorn in '86, and we played Valley at home that year. And man, they first of all they came in and took up the whole visitor side of our little Henderson Stadium at Alcorn, and they were just incredible the way they sounded. And of course, our fans didn't care about Valley. They were like, "Boo, they boring." But man, we were just in awe of what they sounded like. But when they played that Devil's Gun, Mister. Oh, I used to just look if they didn't play that Devil's Gun, and I remember they played Backstabbers that year. Man, they sounded incredible, and I had never heard or seen anything like Valley before in my life. Uh, so
Hey, bro,
that
Gladney. Bro, Gladney.
yes, sir.
Um, I was trying to say something early, but I was, basically, here's why Valley had the sound that they had back in that day. As I said, Mr. Boone, the band director at that, the band director he served from 60 to 72. And, he created this thing where they was using, I forgot what he called it. He was using atmospheric ornamentation, and he was basically using the drum corps elements that drum corps guys are using today. And then he was doing the pop tunes, the show tunes, the marches, and things of this nature. He basically made people rethink what the militaristic style band was back then. But then when Mr. Trammell came on board back in '73, he came in right behind O'Neal Sanford. And what happened with that was he basically continued on with that. You said, what year did you march with Alcorn again?
80s. I started with 86 to 95.
86, 95. Back then, a lot of the music that they used back then was a lot of stock tunes that was modified. He would modify them. Trammell would modify them, and we had a name for it back in the day. We called it TNT. And folks would get, and a lot of the band members would get mad when he would go over to the piano, and they'd be like, "Uh-oh, here come that TNT, Trammell's Nasty Touch." But then at the same time, what folks didn't realize was he was utilizing some of the DCI elements with the chord structure that made a lot of the arrangements sound good like they did. So then on top of that, instead of the usual tenor drum, the snare, and the bass drum, they were using the drum and bugle corps style element of tonal basses and quint toms and what have you, and the marching bells. Because if I were to look in the Valley Band library now, they would use a lot of stock arrangements back then, and they were some powerful tunes, very, very powerful. Like that year back in '86, they did the Algero arrangement of Boogie Down.
Mm.
That's an actual stock arrangement. All he did was put some heat to it.
Wow.
So basically he would have a combination of the DCI style stock arrangements, the Sound Power series like Bill Moffitt, and then what he would do is his arrangers. He had an excellent arranger back in the day, Willie Henderson. He was the one that brought Backstabbers in, that brought Devil's Gun in back in '73. So basically, the success of Valley back then was contributed to the use of drum corps style elements with chord structures, and just to play around with the chords. That's what made Valley just awesome.
And I think that was another one of the unique elements with Alcorn. Alcorn's drum line was the first drum line, first band I'd ever been in that had tonal bass, and we had the trios at the time, and so I had never heard that before. So that was new to me, because my band was my band director copied Alabama State, with the ugly leg tenors and the the snare drum and the bass drum and cymbals. So that was a new thing for me too, doing the getting to hear the tonal bass. It took a while for it to grow on me, but once I got it, I loved it. Which makes me angry now because Alcorn is not that anymore. It's like they wanted to be Warren Thunder. So I kind of got upset about that. I'm like, man, can we just keep being us? But that's another discussion. That
Yeah,
me
it's
and
a whole nother animal there. But
yeah.
I think what was trying to happen at one point, what I learned when when bands were trying to evolve, they were trying to maintain what they've been doing. I'm speaking in terms of not just university bands, but public school bands for that matter. Um, taking when you look at a program that had a rich history and they try to add an element in there, and sometimes the element just takes over. Like if you were doing drum and bugle corps style percussion, and if it worked, it worked. But then you had kids, I'm gonna be honest from an educational standpoint, you have kids who did that, from sixth grade up to ninth grade. Then when they see a show band style drum line or horn line, they be like, man, what we've been doing was boring all these years. But that's not the case. I mean, it shouldn't be that way. I have a real pet peeve with unison percussion in some cases. You just got, I mean, in terms of, but like you said, it's a whole nother conversation. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to piss off any drummers with this. Because when you look at the way percussion is set up nowadays, it's like a marching drum set. Basically. But like I said, it's a whole nother conversation. I'm gonna get out of there.
We were taught one of the things Mr. Griffin told me was he said most band directors, especially show band directors, only see drums as rhythm. They don't see them as melodic. And he said that was one of the things that was putting him early, and I hate to say it, at Jackson State, but he said that was one of the things that was putting him early, that you had to think of percussion as being melodic. And so I never had that mindset before, and that's what I talked about with Sam Griffin because the guy was so crazy. He was so the way he talked, but you know what? I thought he knew all the things that he knew. But as I've gotten older and being a band director, and now I can look at college bands now in a different light, and I can even look at old shows from when I was in band. I can look at things that the bands were doing and the stuff I was knocking on them. I'm like, hey, they actually was on point. I just, but you just was taught in the swag. Look, I was at Alcorn. I ain't had nothing good to say about Jackson State. Not when no, they was the enemy. Just like Southern didn't have nothing good to say about Grambling and vice versa. We didn't do that when we were in school. You hated them. Uh, but now I can look at stuff like I told man, I loved being in the SWAC. I only wish that I could have seen more like bands I never saw while I was in school. I never saw Prairie View because they never traveled, because they never had money. They never went anywhere. And of course, we didn't go to PV. So, and back then, PV was called the best band nobody's ever heard. And so I never saw them. I never got to see them. I never got to sit across from them in the band. I only got to sit across from Texas Southern once. And we played a game in Rice Stadium for some crazy reason. Rice Stadium, and we had like 2,200 people at the game. And that was that was my only the only thing I regret about my college band career. But I love the time that I came up in because the bands just the way the band sounded uh, was so signature. Everybody had their signature sound, and I appreciate that. Uh, but I got to give Jack State credit what they're doing now. Uh, them, and I even give Southern credit now. When you think about the unicorn, that's all I can call it. Brian Simmons. That guy's a unicorn, man. he's just a he's just an unusual cat, and the things that as far as when the arrangement that he did, even starting with Hamer, uh, the way that they and as they introduced more woodwinds and more color into their sound, I really appreciated them a little bit more. But I knew I didn't want to be in Southern band when I was coming up because it was all dudes. It wasn't no girls. I was like, no man, I can't do that. Okay. that turned me off for them right away. I almost didn't audition for them. But I did because I wanted to be able to say I had an offer from them, but I knew I wasn't going to Southern because all boys in the band traveling up and down the road, and it was just 8 dancers. All is gonna fight over 8 girls? No. That was my mindset, and then at that time, so I was like, "Oh no, I'm not going there. I'm not going there."
Okay, man, I got a question for you guys, man. What are you all's recruiting methods as far as getting students for your band programs?
Wow.
Well, I could talk about. You first off, I think you have to have a good working relationship with the middle school feeders. If you're in a situation that we're in Memphis, that's kind of a non-existent thing because Memphis is the kind of way where these kids. I have kids at Central from all over the city. I got kids from Mississippi. I got kids from Millington, Collierville, Cordova, just all the areas. The one great thing about the school I'm at now at Central is Central is a very strong academic school and has been for decades. So we attract a lot of smart kids. I have a lot of kids with 36s, 35s on ACT. I have salutatory, it's a very, my band has always been, that much has never changed here at Central. But in general, band kids are smarter than the rest of the students, and the studies have shown that anyway, but that's a different story. So the first thing is I think you need to develop strong relationships with your feeders, be a resource for your feeders, and they'll be a resource for you. I'm relentless with recruiting. I try to talk to kids from as early as I can find them. And I'm not, I don't recruit from other band programs or other high school band programs, but I don't care if your middle school is right next to Whitehaven. I'm trying to recruit them kids.
Yeah.
That's fair game. But I don't recruit from other
fair game.
So, and most folks don't. But I just want to that's something that I think is wrong. But that's a different story. My thing, that's number one. Even though we have a steady, like this year, we have about 50 freshmen in the band this year. We all virtual, so we're gonna get to see them. Hopefully, we'll do something in the spring when they get this vaccine and get this idiot out of the White House, and maybe we can get some action
Right.
and get some stuff going. But we that's that I recruit there from just the middle school feeders, and every one of them. I try to talk to every middle school band student, every band parent. I'm relentless, and I mean it's hard work. Then I still recruit within the school. Even that's throwback to when I was in at East High School when I had to recruit from the school, or I wouldn't have a band. So we'll just go around, little girl, little boy, you want to be in the band? Come on, let's do it. The other thing is at Central, we have a complete band program. When asked about Mardi Gras, it's just rough for us to do a lot in the spring because we have so much other stuff going on in the spring semester. We have a championship jazz program. My wind ensembles and concert bands, we get superior ratings every year at Concert Festival, at least the past 10 years. But we do once we get through with that around May, we crank back up. And we do a big showdown called North vs. South every year in Memphis. And the beautiful thing about this showdown too, it was the idea was started by Kellen Christian. Y'all know him at Whitehaven.
Mm-hmm.
But it was back when he was at OK, but he came up with the idea. I thought it was a great idea for us to, get together, give the kids something to do to push to the end of the year. And it's fun, it's North versus, by the way, Central is nowhere in North Memphis. We close to it's just what we call North versus South. But that's just what it is. And it's I think if by having that to me, it's a strength that I have so much to offer students. Yeah, we do have a phenomenal marching band. I'm gonna do marching band to the fullest. I'm gonna do concert band to the fullest. I'm gonna do jazz band to the fullest. My marching band, we won 2 national championships, this high stepping nationals, and we've done that. And we'll continue to do that. We'll continue to do marching competitions. I do think here in Memphis, I'm getting off subject. I know, bro, but I think we've been doing that a lot tonight. So,
y'all good, man. Y'all good.
So I apologize, but I think that some of our focus is more to just box it up and let's crank. You know what I'm saying? I think, I mean, we're marching band, so we should be doing more marching band competitions.
Yeah.
And you know, if we're gonna be a marching band, let's march, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's that part there is a little bit, it's starting to dwindle. It's starting to come. I mean, it's better, I guess, you know, it varies year to year. But I think if we could really develop that, I think the band programs as a whole will improve. One thing about, reason why I say that is because when you have a marching competition, it's a competition. You're getting judged by competent folks that judge, and it's you know, some judges have an agenda, some don't. You know how that is. But it's still someone that's quasi objective to tell you, hey man, you could do this and do this and do this and make your program better. Well, that's what benefited me as a band director, is someone telling me objectively outside, hey man, you could come do this. Now, if we just blowing each other's heads off, all you gonna YouTube comments that, hey, y'all jokers ain't hitting on that, no, y'all this. Has it really? That's fun. That's the fun. That's the cake. That's the ice cream at the end of the meal for my kids. Is let's crank up on, you know, let's do this. But the work is done in those competitions where you actually are judged and different things like that. We judge, and that is that's, I'm not trying to take away from our culture. That's our culture. You know, Black college culture is that's where it comes from. It's that court of public opinion. Who got who? You know, that's what was. But I don't want that to be. That's not only our culture. To Clover, Lacy was talking about. I mean, my dissertation was on the history of band programs in Jackson, Mississippi. That's one of my dissertations on. And they had marching competitions way back and concert band way back in the 30s and 40s, man. So it's not just like this is all we do. I think it's got kind of twisted. Let's march. Let's see what we march about. You know, you just and then folks, you know, I think that's important. So I think to your question, and I know I went all around the world to answer your question, but I think one is the great solid relationship with middle school band directors, being a resource for them. I'm there to help them whatever they need. If they need to borrow a horn, they can come borrow a horn. If they want me to come do a sectional, whatever, I'm ready to help out. Because a lot of these middle school programs, they don't have a one band director or whatnot, you know. So my percussion instructor, he's starting to work with one of the middle schools now. And I help whenever I can. Sometimes it's a little difficult because our schedules kind of conflict. When we haven't practice, they haven't practiced. So sometimes it's a little hard. That's not step one. Number two is don't negate the kids right there in your program, right there in your school, just running the halls in your general music class. A lot of us are teaching general music along with band. Man, put the instrument in the kids' hand, man, and turn them on the band. I had two girls never played before in their life. Started band in the 10th grade. They both had band scholarships, trumpet. So, you know, I get, you know, two trumpet players. And I mean, I have several examples like that where I'm sitting there starting these kids and developing them. So there's that. Then the third step is you got to have a program kids want to be in. You got to have, I mean, just a positive culture of we're doing stuff, you know. They're going to see us. When I was at East, man, when I had 15, 20 kids, we went on that field. We looked like a hot mess. We sounded like a hot mess. We were on halftime. We did a halftime show. I got hired the first day of school. I didn't have no band camp, no nothing. 2 weeks later, our first game. We were on that field because I believe in that. We are marching at halftime every game because that's the most visible band's going to be. You're not going to be more visible than a halftime show.
That's right.
Yeah, because not everybody at the game for the band. Some of these folks for football, some for the band, but everybody's there.
I'm for a fashion show.
So that's what we're gonna always put that out there. So kids will get excited about that. They want to do something. I do little games, little too, man. Sometimes I get the little pretty girls to go recruit little boys. I do that. Been doing that for years. Little cute little girl on clarinet. Hey, go get that boys and get them in band. You ain't got to talk to them once they get here. Just flirt with them, tell them, come on to the band. And they'll get there and they'll stay. And I still do that to this day, even where I don't necessarily need to, because I believe in music education, bro. I would like to I think this is band, as I think everybody on here agrees, this is wonderful. It's the greatest thing ever. I want all these kids to get this, man. I want these kids to get this. That feeling you have, man, it's the best thing in the world. Not almost best thing in the world. Look, there's some stuff a little better, but I want that. So those are my 3 steps. And like I said, and offerings. So I got some Brainiac kids, and some of them ain't really feeling that sweaty, hotty marching band stuff. Now they all got to do it, but guess what else I got? I got a jazz band, and we compete nationally. We travel. We got trip in the fall. Usually we have a trip in the fall, a trip in the spring, a big trip, and we go to every game because my principal's a sports rah sports guy, so we can't miss a game. I don't care if we going to Bugaloosa. I don't care if we going whatever. Where the football team going, we got to go.
Yeah.
And we support our team. We gonna have fun. The funny thing for us, what's the most important performance to my kids, believe it or not? The most important performance is a pep rally.
Mm-hmm.
Because they will see if and that's in every program, if their peers
accept it,
them as something, as like, oh wow, look at you, y'all killed it out there. If they peers don't see it, then they're not gonna want to do bad. That's the great thing about Louisiana and New Orleans, that you cannot compare it to anywhere, especially New Orleans. You just really can't compare it. And I think it's a wonderful thing. Their culture is like the parents, the community, folks that ain't in band, they know about band.
They all bought in.
And I think if we can get that all over, communities, both white and black, have that. But not as a city like New Orleans. That whole city is just engulfed in that band culture, and get man, they want it. They at an early age, and I think that's beautiful. But that's how I turn it over to Mr. Gladney.
I agree with you, man. The particular, like the way West Orange is set up, high school, middle school, and so I'm involved with the middle school program. We had to get it, but we had to get it structured. One of the problems was the program wasn't really structured, and so we had to kind of get some kind of vertical alignment, because my band room climate was much different than the middle school guys at that time. So he and I had to work out how we were going to structure the band room so that when kids leave there, they won't come to my band room and be so culture shocked or so out of place that they like, oh no, I can't fool with this guy, he crazy. But once you get past that, but I think it's important to have alignment, for you to have good vertical alignment with your middle school. And I like being in the situation that I am, that I don't have to compete with another high school in the district, even though when you think about Orange and Bridge City and LCM all close together, it's almost like we one big city with multiple high schools. So, but I knew to build a program. I told the superintendent when I got there, when he asked me what could I see happening, I said, well, give me 2 years to put a marching band out there that people can see, that might start attracting kids. I said, and then by year 5, we'll start getting involved back in UIL activities. And so, and I said, if we don't see growth in 3 years, you're not gonna have to say nothing to me. I'm out of here. I said, because if I can't do something in 3 years, if you can't see something from me in 3 years, then I need to leave. And of course, you got to get all the old mindset out and build from there. But it helped us. We had to use a lot of middle school kids when we first started, so they kind of grew up in the program. See, like I got kids right now who are 12th grade, who started with me when they were 7th grade. So they're well familiar with how we do things. And I also agree with you, Dr. Liddell. Your students are your best recruiters. They're the ones, once they buy in, they're gonna sell it. And nothing gives me more joy than to be on the hall and hear teachers, when teachers come, they be like, Mr. Gladney, I don't know what you're doing, but that's all they talk about. They love that band. And the first thing they come to me, I can't have this kind of grade on my test. I'm not gonna be able to perform Friday. They don't want to admit. So you do that, you make it for them, and then they'll sell it. And all you got to do is kind of just put stuff out there for them to do. And that's why I was really excited about being able to get them out there in that Battle of the Band thing, start doing some Mardi Gras parade, go do a couple of gym battles here and there, and just, and so I think it's important, especially when you build it from the ground up, pretty much like what we doing. You got to have something to offer. I can't compete with football because they're a championship team. They're going deep in the playoffs every year, and it's a prestige right there. You know, the mayor's eating lunch with them at the country club. So the football team's like rock stars here. But the band kind of has made its mark now, and I know that because the band can't go to away games this year because of COVID, because of travel stuff. And of course, the team is irate about that. Oh man, the band can't go, man. We're not gonna be able to get crunk, man. We not gonna. And so that's part of what to do. When you get to the point where the students buy in, and of course, pep rallies. Oh, my kids, pep rallies are a whole nother level. Pep rallies are almost bigger than the games to them because their peers don't really come to the football games. The community comes to the games. The kids don't come. They're like, oh man, we know we're gonna win. So that's their time to present their stuff to their peers, and so they love it. And what I've been doing now is doing strategic stuff. Like I've been buying equipment for a jazz band because I know that eventually we want to get there. So my first year, I bought the jazz band stands and the lights, and I put them. I've got them in storage. I started getting the essential elements jazz band books to start them. I put them to the side. You know, I started investing in another rhythm section, some keyboard, another drum set. You know, and I got all that stuff in storage so that when the time comes for those things to happen, boom, which was supposed to be this year because this was the end of year 5, this is the beginning of year 6. This when all the stuff was supposed to start, boom. So, but now we just, with COVID, man, that's kind of put a damp on everything. But that's pretty much what I'm pretty much with Dr. Liddell. If you got to have a relationship with your feeder, and you got to put something out there that kids want to be a part of. If it didn't look like you enjoy it, like I tell you, if it look like you don't enjoy it, nobody's gonna want to be a part of it. So you got to look like you enjoy it. Tell you a funny story. When I first taught the band how to do crook, and we were doing a little chant, I'm a Mustang soldier for life, and you don't want to mess with me. Well, when I actually did the song originally at Washington Marion. From Crook, because the guy in Port Arthur is the one that recorded the song. And so when I did it at West Orange my first year, I was trying to teach the band members to chant. I like, yeah, man, come on, say it with me. And man, they were looking at me like an old mule standing at a new gate. They was just and they looked like they were complete. I said, man, but y'all got to do it. I said, we teaching the people. I said, if you do it and you stick with it, I said, just watch. It's gonna take off. Man, by that second year, the fans had it going in the stands. And next thing you know, I started seeing shirts, Mustang Soldier for Life.
Yeah, Miss Glad, let me get that chair. I'm gonna steal that thing for you, man. That be kind of tight. Yeah, we're gonna steal that. Let me go get a piece of
What J State don't steal from people.
You talking about crook?
Whatever.
Oh man, I send you that. I send you that.
It's Jackson State property, whatever it is.
I gladly send you that. Yeah, I mean, we can't, and if we don't play it at a football game now, the people mad. So it's like I said, it's about teaching them band culture, and it's about teaching the school band culture. And and we now we do all this stuff. We do the crook, we do the I'm so glad, all that stuff. And so now they have really kind of bought in. So to watch the program come from my first year to now, I was very excited. I feel like we were doing some good stuff. And so that's what it takes, man. You just gotta work with them kids, man. But the biggest thing is we still can't, and I agree with you, man, we cannot neglect the education part of music. We can't let them think it's all about just crank. And I'm glad to see that somebody else thinks that these Battle of the Bands, as far as the marching aspect, really has gotten watered down. These bands don't march worth anything now.
They don't care. They be praying for rain.
It's amazing to me because the bands that they emulate, like when I think about everybody talks about Southern, oh man, how they sound. But when you see they field shows, man, they on point. And I'm like, do y'all look at that? Do y'all look at how they march? But they all caught up in what they playing in the stands. And I'm like, Mr. Marching is before band. March and band. We got to march well, and even playing marches.
Sir.
Another thing that's gotten lost in our culture as black schools, we don't play marches anymore, and so we have and I know people say, well, man, this a new day, and I know we got the YouTube directors now who want all the likes on YouTube, and they want everybody talking about how they did this, that, and the other, and that, and popping their shirt. And I was like, that's
I don't disagree with that, and I think that that's a guy like Deontay Kennedy. He is Mr. Live. That man go on, but you know what? What he's doing is he has got them kids bought into what he's doing.
That's right.
Yeah, 2 years, and he turned that program around.
I gotta give the man probably he's got them, and I told him that, I said, man, you got the hard part done. Them kids are bought into what you want, man. You ain't got nothing to do but go up from there.
Yeah.
Another thing his point, and he made a good point about this. So a lot of this is confused, it's construed. Oh, they just cranking. Well, all right, what are you doing in your marching band to teach individual musicianship? And like, what are you arranging to make these kids play? You know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't just writing no block chords and stuff. He's writing parts, man. And this is what we here for. We ain't no daggum cheerleaders. That's the problem too. There are some band members that don't think like that. Our number one job is educate. This is what our job is. This, and so don't think that because got cats like Deontay, Kelly, we have fun, talk noise and all this. Man, we about teaching these goddamn kids, getting them in somebody's school and not pay for it.
And man, you know something else? Like when I was at Washington Marion, and a lot of kids, like I say, like going into like the second part of the semester. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I used to sit down and the kids, like some of the kids, ninth graders, some of the ninth graders used to be, man, I can't get this algebra. I can't get this. I don't know this. I say, listen, think about what I teach y'all when you teaching y'all to read the music. You got an 8 note, a quarter note, a half note. You put them fractions to work in that algebra class. You got to take a fourth. You got to do what you got to do. Use the music that you're applying to that. And think about it. If I give you $100, break that down to fractions. Music goes into sight reading is a part of math to me. I think it go hand in hand with the math class. If you can learn how to do those.
It ain't just you. Go ahead, bro. You tell the truth. I'm sorry.
Oh no, right. No problem. No problem. Once you get in the child's head, music can help you in every class.
Yeah,
it's over with. They bought into it. Listen, man, when I got there, I used to sit
not
on
only
back
math, but history.
Yeah, man, look, I used to sit on back of the pickup truck and watch kids, girls come out the back around the back, gather around the RTC building, try to cut through the stage, and I used to go cut them off by the judge's lot back there where the TPB, where the homecoming. I'll walk them to the front office. Put this child in 6-hour band. They bored in that class. Put them in band. 2 weeks later on the instrument. Now, the people used to cut class with you. They see you on Friday night marching in the game free.
Yeah.
So now, what gonna happen? You going home, you getting a permission slip packet to take home to your mama, and get what? We dropping y'all off, so your mama signed a permission form right there, and then you telling your friend, oh man, we getting ready to go to Beaumont and watch Lamar and PV play at they school for free. Now we come back. Oh, y'all going to such and such? Oh yeah, we was rolling them years. Yeah, we going this and get what? Everybody bought into. Oh, the band get to travel. I want to be in the band. Well, come on. We went from 35, 40 people at band camp to 84 people on travel roster for Mardi Gras within 1 year.
It's nothing like letting them know how much they're doing. Like I tell them, I see, y'all, when I tell you, I say, y'all think camp is hard? And they be like, yeah. I said, well, it's supposed to be hard, because if it was hard, anybody could do it. I said, do y'all realize, I want y'all to stop and think about what you're doing. You're learning maneuvers that you got to know from memory. You got to learn you got to learn that music. You got to know every rhythm. You got to know every note. You got to know every fingering on your instrument. And you got to do all that. You got to do all that simultaneously from memory in a sequential order. I said, you got to remember the movements of the drill or the field show itself. You got to remember, and all that is happening, all that is going on in your mind. You're doing all of that at one time. that's way more difficult than handing somebody a football and running. I said, so you need to understand, you got to make people respect what you do. So don't let nobody that's outside of what we do tell you give our program value. I need you to eat them alive. And so you're not gonna talk bad about the band, not in front of my band members. They're not having it. Now they'll talk bad about each other. They'll talk about how your section need to get right there. But if you outside the band and you say something bad about them, they're gonna let you have it because you don't do nothing, you don't know nothing about what we do. Even I got a guy who plays tuba with me in the spring, who plays football, and he went to he went to Southern's high school camp last summer, and he said, "Man, we don't work this hard at football practice." I said, "Mister, now you understand what show band is." I said, "Now you get it." I said, "The only point of reference you had was what they were already doing here at West Orange, which wasn't much at that time when I came because the program had declined." I said, once you understand what we're doing, man, it gives you a whole nother respect for it. And so once you, and like I said, buying in, that's the big thing I do now because you're dealing with different generation of kids. Kids not so much doing stuff for the love of music and all of that kind of stuff. You got to get them to buy into an idea. And then once you get them to buy into the idea, then you can teach them everything else. They'll hang
Watkins, I think you mentioned about somebody need to stick in a program. I think one of you guys more than 2 years. Was that you?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's another problem in what we got going on now. For whatever reason, a lot of it sometimes be certification issues or whatnot. When you got revolving door at band director, right? It don't matter if whatever happens, you get a guy there for an extended period of time. That's what is beneficial. 4 years, 5 years. The reason being is them kids, if you got a guy that was there last year, new guy there next year, new guy there next year, new guy there next year, they thinking, man, I ain't studying you cuz you gonna be gone next year too.
Yeah.
And look, you know how I look at that, y'all. I look at band directors that go here 1 year, here. I call them the stepdads. You here for a short period of time, going about your business.
We call them gypsies.
But see, if you I mean, and sometimes it's unavoidable. You know, it is what it is, man.
But the thing about it though, Liddell, if you know you ain't got your certification, don't go to a high school, go to a middle school. You could fix the problem. Start in elementary or middle school and build and work towards your certification. Get it, and then a lot of people don't realize everybody not built for the high school level because you can't handle them kids. I guarantee you, I could take the average first year band director and stick them at Washington Marion in that 9th grade academy in one of them classes. They gonna quit. They gonna quit.
And you know, and the other thing with that too, also, man, I think that that's part of the problem with a lot of programs too. There's a lot of cats getting these programs that's not fundamentally ready. Not even so much as being able to handle kids. They can't teach. They're trying to make their bands versions of the band that they were in based on their experience as a band member. But it's a whole.
They're trying to microwave the band.
Yeah, the pedagogy is important, and I think that's still something that we got to be mindful of. And I know me as an administrator, I would be expecting my thing has always been, one reason that I could have left Washington Marion at the end of my first year, when Beaumont was at his prime, when Ozan opened up, Mr. Collins, who was at Lake Charles, Boston at the time, he had just went to Central, and he left me in Lake Charles, and so I was asking him about Central, man. He was telling me about his budget, man, and how much money he had to work with. And I was like, man, Beaumont sound like the land of milk and honey. And he said, man, they're gonna open this other school up, man. Ozan, man. He said, I think that'd be perfect for you. And I was like, well, wow, man. So I came down there and looked at the place and interviewed. And so the assistant principal at the time, he's like, well, man, the job is yours if you want it. But I felt bad because I was like, man, I would feel bad leaving Washington Marion after year. I said, I want to give these people a return on the investment that they made in me. I just wouldn't feel right just up and leaving, like that. And so there's something to be said also about wanting to invest in a program. You just make up your mind where you're not just chasing the next band or chasing the next idea of what you want, sometimes you got to build it. It's almost like how they talk about the NBA players trying to build these super teams. Uh, I've my thing was I've always wanted to build the kind of band that I saw. I know I want to try to go to a place that had it. If I was fortunate enough to do that, great. But if not, you know, I would feel more satisfaction building that program. But by the same token, if I walked into something like that, I wouldn't be mad about it either. But I think we got to remember too that a lot of these young guys are just not they not good directors. And that's a factor too. A lot of young guys, they just not good directors. And these, like when
I like to speak on something that I'm really, really I think it's a problem now in our profession, especially younger cats coming through. I hear a lot of folks talk about arranging. Man, I arrange this and I arrange that, and I'm doing this arrangement and I'm doing this arrange that and arrange that. That's great. Can you finger E flat on clarinet?
Yeah.
Do you know how to get your tuba player to play? Like I think the focus on some of the younger cats all about some. I think everybody trying to be Brian Simmons. That's what I think really the problem is. And it's like, man, we don't need Brian Simmons in these high school bands. We need somebody to teach these jokers how to play a doggone F concert scale, how to get these jokers to read music, how to get their rudiments to produce a quality tone. And arrangement is like this much of what I do. I still arrange. I arranged for Jackson State since my first arrangement was 1998. I arranged, last thing I arranged for the Boom, probably 08, I don't even remember. And I arranged for my high school and still arranged for my high school. It's more of a chore for me now than a pleasure. Like, I love arranging, but I still do it. But my point is, it's about that much of what I'm doing, man. What I'm doing is teaching these kids how to play. I think, like, I look at when I was in high school, when I was in the Boom, and a crowd come in, they suck, man. I mean, they trash. And we gonna make sure they not gonna be there long. You know what I'm saying? And first question come in, man, what high school you went to, bro?
Yeah, who's your band?
We used to always say that, hey, no, I don't want to talk about you, Mr. Glad. We used to say, hey, because Alcoa used to have band camp a week. They start their band camp a week after ours every year. And we used to joke, hey, man, it ain't too late. You go to Alcoa, cuz. It ain't too late. But my thing as a band director, I would hate for a kid to come out my program to go to somebody's college band. They would say, man, what high school you come from? You went to where? In Memphis Central? Oh, my kids don't do that, man. I'm trying to make killers. I got kids. I have section leaders at Tennessee State. I have section leaders at Talladega, section leaders at Jackson State, section leaders. I don't think I have any student at Alcorn. I do have a student at Valley once upon a time, at Morehouse, and Lane. Now, that's another thing I don't do. I don't care where you go to school. I'm a Jacksonian. I'm putting it out there. Hey, I'm Jacksonian. Love the Boom, baby. But I got a student at Southern. I said go to college and don't pay for it. That's my job. But
I agree with that one there.
I don't want you going to nobody's school being no Rudy Poo. You go in there and be the section leader, be the either whatever. And so that's what we doing. And I think that's the missing part. And it's most of them young cats, man. Them young cats like, I'm gonna be Brian Simmons, I'm gonna arrange, and that's all they talk about. Their conversations all about this, right? Bro, how you teach this? How you teach to get the clarinet embouchure right? How you get that trumpet embouchure right?
Hit the yard line on 8.
Say again?
Hit the yard line on 8. It's but again, that's what I'm saying. And technology is such now that everybody who got some kind of recording software, they think they're a producer. So everybody now who got Finale or Finale Notepad, they think they're an arranger
or a keyboard.
So and my thing is, I was arranging when there was no Finale. When I had to write stuff by hand, you had to sit there and pick out these chords, and you didn't know it was right until they played it, and you didn't know if you didn't know if it sounded bad because you made a mistake or because they were playing the wrong note. So I had to, I had to learn how to, tell y'all the first thing I arranged in high school. So again, I told you I was kind of cocky. So Mr. Griffin said, well, no, we're gonna let this first Chuck Crab, since he arranged for his high school, we're gonna let him arrange this song. And I'll never forget a little rap tune, The Fly by the Wrecking Crew. And Mr. Griffin told me to arrange it for so I had my chest stuck out. I'm a freshman, I'm arranging for all corn. I was feeling myself, man. I brought my paper in there, man, and he looked at it and he ripped it up in my face. He ripped it up. He said, man, look at this. He said, your measures not even lined up, your counts not lined. He said, look how all out of order this is. He grabbed a book called The Technical Orchestration. He threw it at me. He said, go read chapter 1, 2, and 3 and write that shit again. and
Paul Adams and Jack State, you had back in the day. Now it's a little different now. They got a lot more little student cats out there doing things. They know. I don't want to make it seem like I'm anti-arranging. Man, arrange. Do everything. Don't limit yourself. I'm just saying, don't let that be everything.
Yeah.
But back in the day, Adams used to. Now you had to write everything in manuscript because ain't nobody had. It's like one person had finale back in the day. Ain't nobody had no finale. So you had the manuscript paper, and so it had to go through Paul Adams. Paul Adams, by the way, got perfect pitch. Paul Adams, by the way, ain't nothing getting past that man. He wanted to go. You had to write the chord symbols. You had to write Roman numeral notation. I'm like, doggone, Mr. Adams. You had every measure had to be numbered. Your manuscript had to be on point, and then then you get to pass it out to we had a lab band where it was just basically crabs that could sight read. Put them in the band room and they sight read through the junk. If it sounded decent. And then, you had to go through Mr. Adams again, then maybe you'll get it in front of the band. And just because it's in front of the band don't mean it's going to be played on Saturday either.
Yeah.
And upperclassmen had we had a little thing, but Raven band, man. We just go, hey, pass that down here, cuz. Pass that on down here. You just happen to magically lose that part, man. Be like, hey, let's pull up such and such. We ain't got no music, doc. So but that was, I think, that ain't no wrong with finale. I think it's made more arrangements, and I think that's a good thing. However, there is some lost in that some of these folks don't really know orchestration. Some of these folks definitely don't know rhythm. I can tell by some
they don't know how to write for the range of the instrument.
Just little things like
that's true.
But and it takes time. Everybody ain't Brian Simmons. Who's Brian Simmons? That dude, and it's okay. Brian, it's all right to not be Brian Simmons.
Yeah.
Be good at something else or be good at that too. But don't neglect the number one job. The number one thing is the number one thing. Teach these little jokers to play.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing.
Mm-hmm. You can write that boss arrangement, they can't play it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's frustrating. That's the most frustrating thing for me, because when I really started arranging, I just was writing. I just was arranging every song I could think of. But then I look at the band that I got, like, man, we can't play this. So I'm sitting on looking at my finale thing full of arrangements that I don't have a band that can play them. So I got to prepare a band to be able to play the arrangements. And, and that was the other thing talking about how to arrange. You got to learn how to write for the band that you have.
Yeah.
Kids be bringing me Mr. Glad, we need to play this song. And you bring me some that Jackson State playing, or you bring me some Southern playing, or you bring me some all playing. I'm saying, mister, we not going to sound like that. Are you serious? And so it's a mindset that we got to put in our students, that my mind has always been, if this is high school band and this is college band, I want my band to be like right here. I want to be above the average high school, but not on the, because there's got to be something about your program that separates it from others. I don't want to just be another high school. I want people to remember, like when I was talking about how I heard you guys at Central and I heard Hunter's Lane. I didn't even have to know y'all to know that y'all were some special cats, because I just from what I hear, and not so much the rainbow, but even just the way your band plays with balance and blend. And I can tell people are not overblowing, and I don't see all this cocking and all this crazy stuff.
I ain't gonna lie, we do that too. We got a little bit of everything now.
But I can also see people taking in and putting it through the horn. And all this ain't helping you, And so I can look at that and I can see it. I'm saying to myself, man, these are, these are some of the these are the kind of people that I want to make sure I get the chance to meet, because I can't fool with everybody. And when I was the rookie coming to watch, man, I had all the old cats, Lester Williams and Dangerfield and all them older cats, and I was the young cocky guy who was coming in talking all the trash. But those guys poured into me. They fed me. They knew I wanted to learn. They knew I just was a talker, and but they knew I wanted to learn, so they took time and I wanted to be that kind of cat. But I can't do that now because you got these young cats now. They different. They only fool with people that they went to school with. They got this, and I understand all directors have a circle, but I'm open to meeting new people. And my thing is, I want to expose my band to as many different types of bands and different programs, and I want to meet as many different types of band directors as I can, because it's a different age now than when I first started. And so I want to know what these Dr. Liddells and Brother Lacy's and all these cats are doing. I want to know what y'all doing. When I heard Scotlandville, man, like Aaron Roussel, man, Roussel is doing some great. You can tell that cat is teaching, and we had him in Beaumont but he wanted to go back home, and man, he's turned Scotlandville into a little power down there. And so when you look at a young cat like that, so I wanted to make sure I knew this cat, and and he and I have a relationship now. But I want to know these cats, not saying that so you can learn something from me because I'm the old cat, but I want to know what you're doing, because you're dealing with the generation of kid that I'm dealing with, because kids are different now. The kids from the early 90s, those kids don't exist no more. This is a different breed of kids, so I got to be able to meet them. So let's relate and talk about some things that we can all do, because at the end of the day, like you said, when we sit across from each other, what you gonna play, but when it's all over, we gonna sit down and we gonna talk like this. And the relationships matter to me. And I guess I'm just old like that. I like talking to people like that. I don't like texting. I like talking to people and getting relationships, because that's how and vibing off each other, man, because that's what it's about. Because we all got programs and we all just trying to be the best that we can be.
Okay, man. What advice would you all give up and coming band directors, like these younger band directors?
Well, my first advice is simple. Are they closed? Go ahead, Mr. Gladney.
Know your craft. Know your craft. That's the first thing. Recognize where you're teaching. There's no one size fits all. You got to know where you are, and you got to know how to get what you need. Immerse yourself in the community, build relationships with everybody, even the janitor. Build relationships with relationships, networking, and just know your craft. Respect the craft, man, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Well, I think the number one thing problem with high school kids, band directors, is standards. I think our standards are low, and they don't have to be. It's just simply, bro, you're going to do it. You're going to do this. This is my standard, and your standard needs to be astronomically high, like unattainable. To me, it needs to be unattainable. The old saying, like when you shoot for the stars, or shoot for the moon, you hit the stars or whatever. I think that's the saying. But it's like, seriously, I think that my kids, every single kid in that band, I'm a professional trombone player, playing over 34 years now. And every kid in that band, you're going to play trombone, you better play it as good as me. You might not play better than me, but you're going to play as good as me. That's my standard. They ain't necessarily they're going to ever make it. But guess what? If they push for that, they're going to get to be great. They might not be as good as me, but they're going to get to be pretty dang good. But if they push to, okay, that's good. Okay, guys, you take it down, trumpet. Go ahead, just take it down. Nah, bro, take it up. Yeah. You can't do and you got to have standards, high standards for your overall band, how we sound as a band, how we sound, and then because I think as a band we got dual responsibilities a responsibility to the student individually and a responsibility to have a good sounding band, right? You got to do both of them things and have high standards in both. Then for them standards, you got to know, okay, what's the standard? I mean, if you're a trombone player, you might not know what a cold trumpet player supposed to sound like. What kind of what he play? What kind of repertoire he playing? How many octaves should he play in scales? What about a cold clarinet player, a flute? I have an obligation for everybody down to my first chair piccolo, all the way down to the sorriest bass drum player in my band. Every one of them, we learning music, every last one of them, and had a standard. Now, I didn't know that coming out of college what the standards were necessarily. So guess what I did? And this is exactly what Mr. Gladney said. Man, I called my friends. Hey, bro, I went to college with some pretty phenomenal musicians. I called them. Hey, man, how a sax player supposed to sound on his scales in high school? What you think that's standard? And I'm shooting for that. I'm pushing for them to get on that standard, what it supposed to be. What my band supposed to sound like. And nitpick. You can't be happy. I mean, my band, I'm not satisfied with no band performance we've ever done. Every one of them, I feel like to me, wouldn't sound good to me. Every performance I've ever done. And folks are like, man, y'all sound great. You doing it. Because I'm nitpicking every little possible detail. Because I think if you do that, you're great. It's like, other thing is the process. Nick Saban once said, like, why Alabama football so cool? I don't want to offend none of you Louisiana folks. I know it's LSU.
Oh, no, baby, I'm tired all the way.
But he said why he was so good, the football coach. He says that he treats every practice, that's what he looks for, the process. It's the day-to-day. I ain't even studying no game or no performance or no concert. My thing is what we doing after school. Let's win Monday after school. Let's win Tuesday. Let's win Wednesday. Then we get to that weekend, it's party time. So even as me, you train yourself too. It's that grind. You got to enjoy that grind, that daily grind. Like today, we got this much better. You got to be happy about that because then tomorrow is this much better. And that's to add it together. Guess what you got? You getting better every day. So I think you got to love that grind. No excuses. These kids with these little excuses. I don't get into little excuses. Mentor, like you said, I think that's very important. Get you a mentor, man. Find you an old head band director that's been there, done that, been where you are, not necessarily literally where you are, but in a situation like you, and he did it well, do it. And it ain't got to be an old head. Like kind of what we talking about tonight, you know what I'm saying? But this band life podcast you have going, it's this great thing. You get to hear what these folks talking about. What's Chalupa doing down there in New Orleans? I call Chris all the time. Hey, bro, and he's younger than me. They haven't taught as long as me. I'm asking him questions. What the heck you feeding the baritone players down in New Orleans, bro?
Yeah.
What y'all doing? Right. I ain't ashamed to ask, hey man, what you doing over there? How did you do that? How did you get them to sound like that? You can learn something from everybody. Just seek advice and have folks listen to your group, man. Get somebody to listen to it, hey, and tell you, because you'll be going around thinking you killing it, but you really sound like hot mess.
Yeah.
Get somebody to trust. Hey, listen to my band. Tell me what you think. Look at my band. Tell me what you think. And they'll see stuff or hear stuff you ain't even heard. Like, oh snap, you right. I'm gonna tell a quick story, and I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna tell a real quick story. My first year band teaching, I was at a middle school in Mississippi. And if y'all know my dad's always been hard on me, right? He like, throughout life, when people ask me, did your daddy help you? Yes, he just told me I sucked every day from 6th grade all the way through, He walked back in the room, I'm in there practicing, you got it. Well, you sound like you did 7th grade, this kind of stuff. So I asked him to come listen to my middle school band. We get ready to go to concert festival. I'm just happy, little middle school band. And we got done. I said, what you think we gonna do? Oh, y'all finna get a 4. I said, 4, man, come on now. What you mean? And I'm sitting there, I'm mad like he just messing with me or something, right? But you know what? He was right as rain. Because I ain't hear the mistakes. You know what I'm saying? This is an objective person. And it's somebody, obviously I trust my dad's point of view, but it ain't gotta be, you ain't gotta use your father. You can use your college band director, whatever. Get somebody to listen to your group. That's a big advice. Learn everything. You cannot stop learning when you graduate college. Because guess what? You don't know jack. New guys, you will learn. You think you know it. When you grab that first job, you're going to be like, bro, I don't know nothing. I think I do, but I really don't know nothing. And you know how to motivate kids, baby. You know how to teach, but it's a lot of little nuanced stuff that you don't have a clue about. And so you don't want to teach your kids. You want your kid to get the same. I want my kid essentially get the same thing every kid in the country get, and better. These little hood joker, they gonna learn the same doggone thing they learn in the suburbs. They're gonna learn the same thing, and they're gonna learn anywhere in the world. So guess what? My kids can go anywhere they want to go and excel. I got kids that all over the country, man. University of Memphis, Middle Tennessee State, got a kid Morehouse. I got a kid at Yale. I got a kid at out of school with my French one play out in Colorado. He played in the band out there. And they ready to play anywhere because that's what I'm doing. I'm not cheating. I want them ready to go in anybody program, walk in there, and they be like, hey, bro, that dude can play. You might not know this marching style we doing, the core band no more, but guess what? That joker play his butt off. I bet you 3 octaves, 2-3 octaves. I bet you that joker got, and they come in there handling, and they can read the notes off the page. High standards, mentorship, learn as much as you can. And I'm gonna have to get off here, gentlemen. This has been a good job. I appreciate you inviting me, man. But I'm gonna have to get off here.
All right, man. No problem, man.
Can you I want your contact information, Doc. I want to keep this.
For sure.
I want to keep this going.
For sure. I'm on Facebook. Ollie Liddell. I'm on Facebook. You hit me up.
All right. I'm gonna look you up.
All right, bro.
All right, man. All right, gentlemen, you guys have any last comments, man? Any words of encouragement to your band students?
Well, at this time, only thing I got to say is we under construction right now. I'm gonna get me a hard hat made, and I'm gonna be building. I'm gonna be like Bob the Builder. Can we build it? Yes, we can. And to Brother Gladney, just so you know, I do have a digital library of resources for concert band and marching band. That is a project I've been working on for years, since I've been working on my master's. And I said I want to be able to help the next band director or the youngest band director. So I have developed a library of resources, for them to start their first year off with. So if you know of any young band directors that are out there who need resources such as scale sheets, fingering charts, if they need something for a beginning band, their second level band, or whatever, I have a plethora of stuff available. I have plenty of it digital, and I have plenty of it in print. So if they need anything, they can reach me via Facebook. I'm on Facebook as Clover Lacy Jr. And let me see what else is there. Yeah, and they can also reach out to me via email at Clover. No, I'm sorry. I'm gonna use my band director email. That's deltabandmaster@gmail.com.
Okay. Yeah, man, I'm definitely gonna look you up on Facebook so I can add.
Matter of fact, I just sent you a friend request, Gladney.
Okay. I had my phone turned down. Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know I didn't talk much in the conversation because basically, I know Ollie's from Tennessee and you're in Texas, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
So my environment as far as band is a little different. I'm gonna be honest, because we're going through a restructure, and we basically, when you're the band director in the Mississippi Delta, you're a one-man show. It's all you. And then you occasionally have the young lady who graduated and wants to be the auxiliary coordinator or something. You got a guy that comes in and helps you drum line and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if you hold a contract with a school district in the Mississippi Delta, it's all on you.
Yeah.
You basically, in the Mississippi Delta, you have to feed yourself as a band director. We're not, in other parts of the state where I am, we have a situation where you have band directors who have you have band program with 4 or 5 directors. But when you're in the Mississippi Delta, the poorest region in the country, is only one guy. And he has to be the one to sell that program. He has to feed himself, in terms of middle school to high school and beginners. There's a lot of that going on. So that's what we do in here, because as I was listening to you guys, I was thinking back to that movie, The Tuskegee Airmen, that officer came up in my head and said, "You just heard two different speeches from two different officers, pretty much." So I'm on the outside looking in at a situation that we don't have really much control over, because we have a situation where academics is key, because our area is suffering academically. In the Mississippi Delta, we have some we have small spurts of kids who do well on the ACT. We have kids who do well, who go into college, and then we get the occasional band head kid that wants to join the band. We may get 10 to 15, 20 kids at one time in your small schools in Mississippi. But when you get down like in the Jackson metro area, you get along the Interstate 55 going north, down in the Gulf Coast, northeast Mississippi, you got a drum and bugle corps environment. They go to contests every year. They go to state marching championship every year. But the average band program in the Delta goes to state marching evaluation, does concert band, and that's it. Because the thing that helped us in the day, we had solo and ensemble. That taught our kids how to play individual musicianship. That taught them how to play as an ensemble. But the state felt that they were losing revenue from it, so they eliminated it. And that put a damper on that's what saved a lot of these kids in the Delta, because solo and ensemble gave them the opportunity to learn how to play individually and hone in on their craft. So I'm hoping that if all goes according to plan where I am, I'm hoping to bring back the solo and ensemble event, and make some funding off of it, so that it can rotate between the different schools in the Delta, because nowadays, to get a kid from a small town, you get one kid from a small town who could outplay any kid in the state. That speaks volumes, versus kids from Jackson, from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, from Northeast Mississippi, from the Memphis, South Haven area. When you get those types of kids, and then for us as band directors, when we see those type of programs, and we have a small program with 20, 30 kids in them, with duct tape on their horns, and they sticks break, and they see a 200-300 piece band on the other side of the field, like, why we can't get stuff like that? Because our funding is not like the other guys.
Yeah.
So so it kind of, I don't know how to say it. It kind of demotivates the kid. Man, we can't have. And I remember growing up, we saw a school called Grenada High School. This is the same band that went to Macy's, and the same band went to the Rose Bowl. It was back in '95 and '98. These guys had a semi truck. Our equipment went on the back of a school bus with the seats taken out. So when they travel like a DCI program, because their band director came from a DCI program. And then you basically have to roll with what the school district gives you. Prime example, when it comes to budgeting. If you were given a $20,000 budget and you do it right, they expect that money to hold you over, or all the equipment you bought to hold you over year after year after year. And then when you start showing growth, then they start saying, why you need so much money for? Why you can't just, then this is what I've been trying to tell people. When they stack this deck, or when they set this money for you, as I was saying, I was saying that when you have a program that you're trying to build, sometimes your administration will find ways to lock you down and hold you to a certain esteem. But like I said, that's a whole nother conversation for another day.
Yeah, I agree with you, man, and you said a lot, because I can remember my time at Alcorn. We had kids from everywhere, and I remember kids coming from Amanda Elsie, and from Greenville High, and from Humphreys County High School, from Yazoo City, and these kids could play, and from Cleveland East Side, and these kids could play. But now, just with the decline of students and the decline of interest in band, uh, it's just you're just dealing with a different kind of animal now. The main thing I tell my kids is my job is to prepare you to be in somebody's band. And I want if you're not in a band in college, I want it to be because you chose not to be, and not because you weren't able to. So I always that's my motivating point for them. That's what I push them with.
Okay. Man, fellas, man, it's been a great interview. I appreciate you guys for participating, and you guys stay safe out here. You know, once things open back up, man, I definitely look forward to coming and filming you guys programs, and guys take care, man.
Thanks again, man, for giving us the opportunity, man. I'm glad to finally get on here.
Yeah, same here.
Y'all have a good one, man.
Good to meet y'all, man.
You
Take
have a
care.
good one. All right.